All right. Nevertheless, let's do this. I guess you could say my mother always made it home for family dinners after a long day's work. Nevertheless, so this has to be the other, like a contrast, like regardless. So you could say something like, nevertheless, I remember many holidays when I mean, this isn't like a specific. This isn't true. This is just a sentence. So we couldn't celebrate. Right. So it's saying regardless. Right. So mother always made it home for family dinners after a long day's work. Nevertheless, I remember many holidays when she was working all day, so we couldn't celebrate until the evening time. Well, working all day, actually, it's a little bit redundant because this says a long day's work. Let's delete this. Let's change it. So, nevertheless, I remember many holidays we didn't get to celebrate. Let's just say open our presents and celebrate. It wouldn't be holidays, would it? It would be Christmases because Christmas is the only time I open presents. We could say celebrate. We can open our presents really. If the speaker wants to have any kind of sympathy from the reader, he or she's not going to write open our presents. Is it really about opening presents, or is it really about being through family? Because she was okay. So, could you say working all day? I guess you could, but we already know she's working. So here's a secret. Here's a little secret. Could you actually omit because she was and put a period here? Yeah, but it just seems like it would fit. It seems like it sounds better if you just add something at the end. So you could basically rephrase, working all day and do it in a creative way. So you could say something like, or you could add specificity and detail to her work, to add dimension to the writing. Right? So the reader likes that, right? The reader likes learning new information. If you're going to basically repeat the same phrase, you know that your mom worked all day. She probably worked regular hours, maybe 12-hour days, maybe 8-hour days, but they were during the day, didn't come home until the evening, etc. Right? So you could say so you could just add that specificity. Because she was pulling, a 12-hour a 12-hour time and a half shift, you know, so like time and a half generally means you get paid, you know, 1.5 times your normal hourly pay or daily pay. Because she was pulling a 12-hour time and a half shift. At the hospital. That's a, you know, that's a registered nurse. Okay, so not bad. So basically, we're saving the specificity. You know, so like we could wait. Like we could use registered nurse. We could say something like, and yeah, my mom is a registered nurse, but this isn't specific to her. This is just a sentence. Just a sentence. So you could put registered nurse here, because they you know, the reader's going to ask, oh, you know, what does your mom do? Da, 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 da. So we could put it all here, or we can introduce one of the details here as a registered nurse. My mother always made it home for family dinners after a long day's work as a registered nurse. Period. Nevertheless, I remember many Christmases when we couldn't get to celebrate. When we couldn't get to celebrate, we couldn't get to celebrate. We didn't get to celebrate. That sounds better, right? We couldn't celebrate. We didn't get to celebrate, right? You could say couldn't celebrate or didn't get to, or you could say didn't celebrate. But yeah, when we didn't get to celebrate with our entire family until the evening time, because she was pulling a 12-hour time and a half shift at the hospital. Okay, makes sense. Is there anywhere that we could change this? Maybe make it sound a little bit better. This is a little bit packed. You could say, you could say something funny here. You could say something like, probably pay for all those presents under the tree. You know, since she was paid, you know, I think time and a half is pretty common. I think it was actually like double time, since she was paid. So, you know, to make it super clear, you know, if you want to make it as universal as possible, and it's like double time, like you could do like 1.5x. So you could mention the jargon of that industry, like time and a half or double time. I think time and a half would be a little bit more confusing with the hyphens and stuff, especially if, you know, I don't know. I'm pretty sure though that's not altogether uncommon, but I think she actually got paid double. I think most people get paid like double. But if you just make it you don't want to have a lot of hyphens. You decide, hey, I'm not going to use the jargon. I'm going to make it a little bit clearer. So that's what I would just say. Probably pay for all those presents under the tree, since she was paid double her normal rate. Since she was being paid, right? Being paid on Christmas, right? Being paid double her normal rate. Or she was earning double her normal rate. But I think being paid just kind of flows better. So my mother always made it home for family dinners after a long day's work as a registered nurse. Nevertheless, I remember many Christmases when we didn't get to celebrate with our entire family until the evening time. So your entire family. So what does that imply, right? This implies that that there are both parents under the roof, probably, right? Presumably. Yeah, I mean, that's It just assumes that. And it also assumes, and also implies that everyone else in the family uh, is home. Is home on Christmas, right? And that they're essentially all sort of waiting for the speaker's mom, right? So that's another reason why you would just keep this stuff in mind. Like that word entire like starts to imply certain things. If you deleted that with our family, it's not quite as clear. But if you say like whole family or entire family, now you're painting a picture of like, oh, okay, so most of the family's probably at home. Maybe they got the day off or whatever. They got the day off school, obviously. So but then they're waiting for mom. So I just think that choosing these words is really helpful. When Diego saw her entire family until the evening time because she was pulling a 12-hour shift at the hospital, probably paid for all those presents under the tree since she was being paid double her normal rate. Like that actually super clear, makes sense, kind of funny, right? Probably to pay for all the presents under the tree, right? So you get a snapshot, who, what, where, when, why, and how. But you get a nice visual image, and then also like you don't think badly of the writer, the speaker, because the speaker didn't say we didn't get to open our presents, until the evening time. Like, what a spoiled twat, I guess. That all this kid cares about is opening his presents. Like, most people care about being with their family, being able to just hang out and spread love and remember, how much you love, the, your family, etc. So, and so this is especially, yeah. So nevertheless, essentially means, in spite of that, right? Like, however, regardless, basically regardless, right? It's synonymous with regardless, or however. So it's very similar. Regardless, I remember many Christmases. But see, regardless seems, so here, if we replace this with regardless, I remember many Christmases, it actually sounds a little bit negative. Like using the word regardless here sounds really negative. It sounds like this person is like complaining, and it's very formal. It just sounds more formal, and it sounds more uptight. Regardless, we didn't spend a lot of time. Like here, the tone is much softer, much lighter. Like even however, I would say, however, I would say nevertheless sounds there's sort of a humor in when you say nevertheless. If you say however, I remember many Christmases, it still feels a little bit from the reader like you're complaining a little bit. If you say regardless, it definitely sounds aggressive. Like regardless, I remember many Christmases, like I'm keeping track, and like regardless, I don't know. It sounds, and I guess this is just from just experience, and it might even be wrong. It might even be totally wrong. Like maybe I might be ascribing, certain definitions or certain feelings and tones to certain words, but I would never use the word regardless or however if I'm trying to lay out kind of a gentle description of my childhood or a childhood. If you're not trying to complain, like aggressively complain, because I think that those just sound complaining. But if you say nevertheless, it just sounds more measured, and you're just like, oh, I'm just sharing. I'm just sharing a little bit about my past. You know, my mother always made her home for family dinners. Her lives worked as a registered nurse, which I'm so grateful. You know, and it's like, oh, that's awesome. He sounds grateful, and this and that, or he or she sounds grateful. And then say, nevertheless, I remember many Christmases when we didn't get to celebrate. You know, it's like just, it's very like matter of fact. So I think it's important to sort of keep that in mind as well when you choose certain words, because you know, context and tone can be taken, you know, a different way depending on the words that you choose. So hopefully this is helpful. Thank you very much.